Hello, it's Elena with you, and I suggest you get comfortable because today we have a very long video, almost 30 minutes. And yes, these are the very nails that were after the burn, my viral video that got an insane number of views. This is what the nails look like about 3 to 5 weeks after our first cleaning. These are the nails she came in with. I think the result is very good. Notice that part of the nail plate already looks quite healthy, the part near the cuticle. Yes, of course, there are still some after effects on 2 or 3 nails. This is severe keratosis, ruptured capillaries, and nail deformation. All of this is still present for now, but we are on the right track, and I know for sure that we will manage. I would also like to remind you how it looked the first time. These were the nails that came to me. On top everything was covered with gel polish, but underneath it was a real mess. Of course, I'll leave a link to the first video up here so you can watch the backstory, because obviously I won't be showing all of that here. How we cleaned everything up is shown in great detail in the first video. Now let's get back to our work. By the way, this is how the nails looked after the first cleaning procedure. And next, I'll be showing everything in real time without any speed ups, exactly what I did with her, meaning how I do these kinds of cleanings. I admit I haven't had cases like this before, meaning this is quite a severe and difficult case in terms of the amount of damage to the nail plate. And I didn't cut anything out here, well, except for the moments when I might have stepped away for a bit. Besides that, I recorded the whole process for you to watch. And by the way, in the first video you asked why I didn't give her a manicure, meaning why I didn't clean up her cuticles or push them back. And I explained to everyone that I didn't see any point in doing that. So the goal was just to remove as much of the affected part as possible and then let it recover and grow out. With this manicure, we cleaned, removed the pterygium, lifted and cut the cuticle, and took off everything possible. And I start my work with a carbide bit. I took one with a blue notch. It's ribbed and looks pretty scary when it's off, not your usual corn-shaped bit. This one is really tough and removes a lot at once in chunks. And I work on the nail, on the natural nail, well, what's left of it at this stage, and it's not painful for the client. And of course I check with my finger. You can see I'm constantly touching, checking the temperature, making sure it doesn't burn her. Naturally, I also asked her about that, because my goal is to make the procedure as gentle, comfortable and painless as possible. With the drill, we remove everything that can be taken off, because this thickness on the nail bed, or rather the bed that has become keratinized and rough, needs to be addressed. It naturally needs to be removed because it interferes with nail growth. And in this way I will go over all 10 fingers, so I work like an assembly line. An assembly line means when you do the same action on all the fingers you have. That's why I go over all 10 fingers like an assembly line. With a carbide bit, I remove everything that I can at this stage with the bit. Each nail is, let's say, in an exclusive condition because they all differ in the degree of damage. I think it's very interesting. So on one client we have samples of different types of burns and onycholysis, or rather different degrees of them. Notice that on the middle finger everything is a bit different, not on the index finger. And the same goes for the ring finger and the pinky. Of course, don't forget to turn your finger to the side like I did, so you can use the drill to reach the right area. And right now I'm working directly on the nail bed, and it doesn't hurt at all because there are a lot of dead, rough skin cells there that need to be removed mechanically anyway. By the way, someone commented on my video asking why I didn't soak it with keratolic or some other ingrown nail solution. I think in principle it's probably possible to do that, but I don't work with that technique. When I work with similar nails, I prefer to do it dry. It's more comfortable for me that way. That doesn't mean it's the only right way, it's just my technique. It's much easier for me to remove it with a drill. So basically we're doing a removal, but not of the previous coating. Unfortunately, it's the remaining part of the nails. For example, on the ring finger, almost half of her nail has already grown back. You can see that the nail is growing further. It's pink, her cuticle has grown, and everything is wonderful. We keep clearing obstacles. I'm already working here. be much more careful on the ring finger. The damage is less there, so you need to be more careful not to hurt it. There's a very thick layer on the thumb inside. She also has after effects from an unsuccessful one. It seems like it was removal, if I'm not mistaken, but that was a long time ago. She doesn't really remember how it happened anymore. So there was some kind of interaction with the surgeon. Well, that's about it. Yes, it happened. That's how it turned out. Well, actually, it's not really critical. It's just that the growth point is a bit messed up and the nail isn't quite even, not exactly how I would like it to be. But in theory, with proper care and careful application of polish, all of this can be hidden. And basically, no one will really notice or find out, and maybe she herself doesn't even pay attention to how it's all going on there anymore. It's upsetting and annoying, but oh well, a little bit has come off over there too. I also lifted using the drill bit. I was worried it might feel hot for her since I'm using the carbide bit hard on the nail. But since the keratosis is very strong, she didn't feel anything, thank God. I hope there aren't a million comments like, "That must hurt so much, how can you do that?" It doesn't hurt her. I watched the whole process. As for the pinky toes, don't worry, they haven't been cleaned yet, but we'll work on them. Because last time I tried to at least remove something, or rather the most serious damage. And today we're cleaning up in more detail. And by the way, I don't think that from the very first procedure you need to clean everything out 100%, you know, right down to the bone. But for me, the procedure should be gradual and, if you like, have a cumulative effect. That's absolutely correct. I just usually prefer to work gradually, that is, each time it gets better and more. And the same goes especially for sticky cuticles and moist skin, which need to get used to you doing a manicure. That is, you need to gradually push back the cuticle. It gets used to you moving, trimming or cleaning it. Little by little it gets better and better. By the way, while I'm cleaning up, I'll leave you a link here. Please take a look at the link. I have other cool videos after the injury, lateral onycholysis. I have a really awesome video, and there's also a video trilogy that is 3 parts about a girl who got into an accident and broke her finger. There are stages showing her nail regrowing, how we cleaned it, and in the end the nail fully grew back. It's amazing. There's also a pedicure video where I remove a toenail that a girl hit really hard, and for now there's nothing there yet. We're eagerly awaiting her return, and I'll be glad to release the 2nd episode. I also want to say that all your comments are welcome. I always read everything you write. I'm very grateful to YouTube and to all of you because it's very interesting and detailed here. Everyone responds. There's always someone to talk to and something to talk about. I really love communicating with you, so I'm always ready for constructive criticism and attention. You know, sometimes people write all sorts of things, but I'm ready to listen. Honestly, because I still don't fully know what my YouTube channel should look like. Like I said, I'm new here. I've only been on this platform for a short time, but I really like it here because I have the opportunity to show and explain all my work in great detail and in depth, because on other social networks people are somehow focused on speed. They're always rushing somewhere, running, and they don't absorb the main point. By the way, what you see sparkling on our nails is actually just remnants of the previous polish. So from last time I didn't completely remove the base coat in some places because that wasn't the goal back then. Notice how easily the onycholysis is removed here with a carbide bit because it's already lifted. Since it's a burn, there's a lot of keratosis and it's pretty easy. Just lift the bit up a little, the tip is raised. I'm working with the belly of the bit and quickly clean it all off. Next, proceed with the file because I'll be using both a file and bits. And we even use powder. We'll be using talc. Lately, I've really enjoyed working with talc. This is a very interesting technique that, well, at first I adopted as part of my work. With wet nails, with oily skin that tends to absorb everything. In general, what happens to it? Well, roughly speaking, if there is such a skin type, for example, she made some cutlets, she touched the ground meat, and it's greasy, and all of that just gets absorbed right into the skin. While working, the drill bit often gets clogged, so you must frequently change and clean them, yet they still don't file as desired. And like magic, powder solves all these problems. It's so cool. I'm so happy with this know-how that I picked up from a girl from St. Petersburg. It's KDK Nails. In the meantime, I finished working with the carbide bit, and as you requested, I'm going to do it now. I'll do a combined manicure too, but I won't go overboard with it. She has significant adhesions in some areas, even though her skin doesn't appear or feel stuck. It's just that, well, the sausage will turn out really nice, by the way. It'll be satisfying to tie it up. I think you'll enjoy watching. But in some places, like this little finger, there's something unpleasant and stuck. And here I will definitely use powder, because this is exactly the type of skin that absorbs everything our hands come into contact with. And most importantly, different oils there, including foundation or some food products or just ordinary creams. And when working with this kind of skin, the first thing I do is remove this little greasy roll. I remove it roughly. I don't try to make it super even. I just take it off now so nothing gets in the way when I look inside and properly clean the pterygium. Also, by the way, I always trim the sides if there's anything there, especially if we have onycholysis. You see, I realized that it would take me a very long time to clean that with a drill, so I lift all of this with nippers. Since I have my own sharpening studio, I don't even worry about it at all. Well, if I can put it this way, I won't ruin the nippers, that's it. That is, I can afford to sharpen them quite often, which makes me incredibly happy. And in general, I want to tell all the professionals that you can't neglect sharpening because it's the quality of our work. If your tool isn't sharpened, you'll never make a clean cut, no matter how skilled you are. The cuticle will tear, causing fraying hangnails and an even more unattractive appearance. I'm definitely a fan of nippers, even though I also work with tweezers. It depends on the situation and which sets remain in the salon, since there are many of us. My salon is large with 40 technicians on staff, so just imagine what happens there. So you work with whatever tools are left, and the tools are also handled by specially trained people. We have a sterilization room. Sometimes you just don't have a choice. Of course, if I get to choose, I probably prefer nippers. For me, that's the best tool. Well, if there's nothing else, tweezers and scissors will do too. In any case, I'll give a good, clean manicure. But in this context, when there's a lot to trim, I would still choose cuticle nippers. So, we're finishing up with the nippers. We put everything away and get ready. Once again, I want to say that I wasn't aiming for a perfectly straight cut. We're just removing a little bit so it doesn't get in the way later. Here you can see how the nail has lifted. Wherever possible, I gently lift and cut it off. And we have the last finger left, the pinky finger. Let's remove it. And now we will start working with the drill bits. By the way, I will use my two favorite standard bits. One is a red bit with a blunt tip. It's probably called a flame bit, with a red abrasive. It's blunt, I like working with it, it removes the pterygium well and lifts the cuticle. And the second bit I will use is a sharp flame bit, well, moderately sharp with a blue notch. The bits I have are from our Kazan factory. I'm from Kazan in case anyone doesn't know. And honestly, I'm really lucky. I'm so glad that I have direct access to all these materials. Oh look, I'm applying talc right now. I usually use regular baby powder from the pharmacy, but I didn't have any at the time. But I took some powder from the depilation room, there's a lot of it there. This talcum powder, which is used before hair removal, also works perfectly. The only difference is to make sure the talcum powder you use has no oils. Our goal is not to moisturize the cuticle and skin, our goal is to clean it off. And pay attention, I think it's very clear in the video how well it gets cleaned off. The bit is definitely not clogged. Right now I'm working at about 5,000 to 7,000 revolutions per minute, so the speed is very low. Lately I usually choose lower speeds for myself, although some time ago I was a real fan of high speeds. To crank it up to 30,000 and do it quickly, although even at 5,000 to 7,000 I manage quite fast and easily. Why did I make this decision? Because during the training process, when I teach new future specialists, I noticed that it's still hard for them to control the pressure on the drill. And it's much easier when I say let's set it to 5,000. Now, confidently and without doubt, you'll review it and know exactly what you want to. I filed right on the nail plate because believe me, at 5,000, you really have to try to file through something. And by teaching people this way, I realized that I personally feel more comfortable working at these speeds. Next, we switch the bit. In short, we change the bit to a blue one with a sharp notch. You can use absolutely any bits that you like. I'm just showing the option that works best for me. It's more convenient for me. By the way, I like to change the order of the bits, sometimes starting with a sharp one, then a dull one. I can't really explain why I do this, but I think it's fair to say that maybe it's just for variety. I often just grab some other sets of bits and see how they work. I'm always searching, I strive to experiment, because you never know where you'll find something or where you'll lose it. So maybe this way it might be better. That's why I try things out. If there's something interesting, I'll definitely show you. We continue cleaning up. Right now I'm working on the free edge. The bit with the blue notch removes it very well. The speed is the same, quite low, about 5,000 to 7,000 revolutions per minute. And specifically when cleaning up nails like these, I prefer to go over the very free edge and the nail bed. Clean all of this so nothing catches, it's very important. Our main goal is to make sure that her walking without coatings and without nails is as comfortable as possible. That means we don't want any edge to catch on anything. Not on hair, not on clothes, not on tights. And by the way, that can happen, because as it grows out, little corners will appear. I always explain this to such clients and recommend that they have a nail file to file the free edge themselves, just to avoid those little snags. It's autumn now, and soon we'll be wearing tights. It would be a shame to ruin a new pair of tights when you're already dealing with onycholysis. After we've gone over with the blue bit and removed the cuticle, it doesn't hurt to do a little buffing. Again, at 5,000–7,000 revolutions per minute, we buff with a bit that has a red notch. You can use a ball bit. Many people really like ball bits. Yes, I do use them in my work, but it's not a standard set, let's say, not a standard craft kit. Yes, all of ours are numbered, they have their own names, and there are standards A1 and A2, by the way. I don't know why they're called that. It's just been that way for a long time. Anyway, the ball bits are kept in separate sets and I don't always have time to get to them. And now our treated finger looks like this. Well, almost half of the nail is already in decent condition. I consider that a victory. Next, with the stick. We checked the nail bed a little. It's not as hard as before, it's not so tough. There's a bit of sensitivity. Yes, the nail is lifted, it's still sticking up, but it will definitely get better. We'll keep working and doing our best. And we still have 3 more fingers that I plan to show you. I won't show the full manicure since I spent a long time with her. I worked slowly, I worked carefully so that, God forbid, she wouldn't feel any pain anywhere. Gradually and carefully. I don't see the point in showing 2 or 3 hours of my work. I don't remember the exact length. That's why I chose 4 fingers with different degrees and decided to show them to you. Now I've moved on to working on the pinkies and things are a bit different there. Initially this onycholysis wasn't cleaned up last time and now it's grown out, lifted well, and everything is clearly visible. First, I use a 100 or 180 grit file and start with the 100 grit side. Well, basically it's similar to a carbide bit, just a bit gentler. I could have cleaned it up with just the carbide bit, but I decided to also use the file here. I used the 100 grit side and removed anything that was really sticking out and obvious. Next, I used nippers again and trimmed off the piece of nail that was bothering me. And now, my favorite way to clean up onycholysis is to turn the bit perpendicular to the nail and clean it out the same way you would clean cracks on heels. That is lifting upwards. Of course, without touching the nail bed itself, because here, right here by the way, it's soft. You really need to be careful here. He has a totally different level of damage here. We take the nippers again. I do, yes. By the way, I make several cuts during the manicure and I don't think it's really a waste of time. I just don't waste time constantly pulling, bending, pushing back the cuticle and desperately peeking under it. My way of working is to make everything as comfortable as possible and without any unnecessary movements. I might be wrong, but that's how I work and have for a long time. Although, who knows, maybe I'll change my views on manicure. Because, you see, about the rotations, it turned out that before I liked more, yes more, but now I realize that I prefer less. For 30,000 I could also treat onycholysis if I wanted. We are treating the cuticle here, and of course, we pay special attention to this little separation here. We need to make sure to clean it all up so that nothing is left. Unfortunately, during the filing process, it's very hard to see the extent of the damage where the separation is happening. But then we'll go over everything with an antiseptic, treat and moisturize it all, and you'll be able to see the result very clearly. For now, let's see how we're doing. Once again, leave your comments and tell me what you think about this. I'm always happy and very interested to read about how you handle such cases. Have you ever had them in your practice? How do you treat onycholysis and what tools do you use? Don't hesitate to write. I'm always happy to communicate. I actually believe that social networks are made for communication. I'm extremely surprised when some bloggers or professionals, I'm not sure what to call them, don't respond. I have so many comments, I don't reply. If you're posting, come on, be kind and communicate, because that's what comments are for. People want to ask something or share something. So once again, I'm saying YouTube is a real find for me. It's so cool here, you write so much and in such detail, and it warms my heart. Even if I'm in the worst mood, I can always come here and read what you've written to me, subscribe, reply to you, chat, and it's just wonderful. Yes, the amount is definitely big, but still I am endlessly grateful to you for your feedback. Also, don't forget to watch all my other videos, and especially the previous version of Ozhok. Her first visit, I'll leave the link here again so you can watch it. And now our little nail looks like this. Everything is great here already. Almost half of the nail has been cleaned and has grown out. Next, we'll move on to the difficult finger. In my opinion, this is the middle finger of the right hand. It's always quite overgrown, and one of the cuticles is often turned out. That's because we write with a pen. Many people hold the pen on the nail incorrectly, especially girls, teenagers, and schoolgirls. These girls who are taking the Unified State exam nowadays, it's honestly just some kind of curse when it comes to turned out cuticles. And bumps on the middle finger too. I think many people have a bump. And that's all because for some reason people think that the harder they grip the pen, if they squeeze it really tight, they'll probably write better. Actually, that's not true, fortunately. Because gripping the pen too tightly only causes a bump on your finger, and by the way, deforms your finger. You've probably noticed that if you place the pen straight to your right, you can see that your finger and nail often grow to the side. And this isn't some kind of congenital pathology, it's an acquired condition in people. That is, most of our deformities are acquired by us. Just like a slouched posture when a person doesn't pay attention to it, and you end up walking hunched over, like a question mark, or the letter G, which isn't attractive. And it's within our power to keep an eye on that. You really need to try to be mindful when you're working. Oh, when you're working or writing, I said working. Because I have a habit of redistributing the load on my fingers, and I often hold the device differently. Sometimes it's between my first and second fingers, sometimes between my third and fourth fingers. I hold this pen in all sorts of ways. It's quite heavy, and I've seen many of my fellow female artists develop a bump, just like you get from a ballpoint pen when you write a lot. And I say make sure to distribute this load so that you don't get this kind of deformation, that crookedness of the fingers, those silly bumps. It's all unattractive. After all, we're all girls. Gente, I recommend distributing the support on the ring finger or the pinky. That is, when applying color, for example, when applying gel, I often rest on the pinky of my right hand because stability is very important. And when working with the device, I rest on the ring finger. I think it's easy to notice this from the way I work. That I often switch back and forth. There were even times in my practice when I changed hands. Actually, that happened when I had to teach a left-handed person. I realized that I just couldn't show what a left-handed person should do with my right hand, especially with the device, so you adjust, switch, and work with your left hand. I think many professionals know how to work with their left hand, especially those who do their own manicure. Even a French manicure is possible. To paint with your left hand, and if you want to develop your non-dominant hand, whether it's your left or right, depending on whether you're right-handed or left-handed, I recommend painting with the hand that's uncomfortable for you. I practice this myself. I have several paintings that were done specifically with my left hand, or half with my right and half with my left. I tried to do that too. And there's also another great method. It's children's copybooks. Anyone who has kids knows what copybooks are, where you learn to write the letters A, B, C and simple words according to the generally accepted rules for capital letters. And that's really great. First you write small pieces, then you add punctuation, and then you try to put words together. And when I first picked up a children's handwriting workbook as an adult, I realized that I actually didn't know how to write at all. I mean, we shortened the way so much. Our modern way of writing, we're so used to typing on a keyboard, on a smartphone, or somewhere else. When you get a pen in your hand, you think, wow, why is it so slow? Why isn't it working out? I was amazed at how much I absolutely couldn't write, but I started sitting down and practicing with some copybooks, first with my right hand, then with my left hand, and basically now if I need to, I can finish writing something with my left hand. Yes, it will be slower, and by the way, the handwriting will be completely different. It's very interesting, but it's something I would advise and recommend doing for self-development. With French on your right hand, the left will be easy for you. In the meantime, I've already finished the cleaning procedure and applied the regenerating products. And oh my god, you're about to ask which ones, so please listen to me. Inky, the brand Inky, that's the one I work with. The Stop Onycholysis series. Here I'm showing you what the nail deformation looks like, but I think the result is great. Everything looks very neat, very nice. Yes, there are still some lesions, but progress is good. The nails are growing and about a third now looks healthy. And I know for sure we will manage. Also, as always, I ask for words of support. If you don't mind, as they say, please help in any way you can. I know that our heroine will watch this video just like the previous one, and support is very important for her because, believe me, for a girl to go without nails is really not cool at all. Thank you very much for watching.